Hi everyone, Kate here with a wrap-up of the first week of middle grade March. My March reading is off to the best start, and it has just been the most delightful thing. I have to say, when you're not feeling well 99% of the time, middle grade literature is just the most delicious kind of literature to be in. And to unapologetically just be reading exclusively middle grade, with a couple exceptions, is such a delight. So I am really looking forward to telling you about the books from the first week, and I wanted to go ahead and do an update. So then at the end of the month, I don't have a ridiculous amount to tell you about. I am striving for a book a day, and so far I am on schedule. So the first book was Oh, I got mixed up about the order of things. Okay. I thought it was my read aloud, but I didn't finish that first. The first book that I read, and in a day, unintentionally, wasn't setting out to do that, but I just couldn't stop reading once I started, and that is The Highly Trained Dogs of Professor Petite. Ryrie Brink, I find her writing the most endearing and compulsive. Whenever I pick it up, I just want to sit with it and not leave it. And this compelled me. I love the Family Grandstand and Family Sabbatical series so much that I went ahead and ordered used copies online to do read-alouds to the boys. And the Family Sabbatical arrived in the mail in pristine condition. So I love when that happens with used books. And I've learned to be more particular. It shows the conditions of books and to only pick good or very good. And hopefully being more particular, the books will come in good condition. This one I got used to, and it's in excellent condition. So I digress. This is all about this small town where a traveling dog show visits. And Willie, who is the main child character, just immediately forms this beautiful friendship with Professor Petite and just is so impressed by the friendship that the professor has with his dogs. And it's so fun to see the different personalities of the dogs and getting to see, this book is just full of fun. It is full of fun. And I love that there is a bit of a mystery in this. One of the dogs is framed for a crime because there is a competing circus show. And I just really find her writing altogether delightful. The events in this are highly improbable. Do I care? No, I don't, because the art of storytelling just shines in this book. I really recommend this one. I love how much of Ryrie Brink's writing that I have loved. Definitely enjoyed this, and it was just a lovely book to start off the month on. The next was a read aloud with the boys, and this is Roxy and the Hooligans by Phyllis, Reynolds, Naylor. If any of you have read Shiloh, which I haven't yet, but if you have read Shiloh, it's the same author. And this is, it had kind of quirky Roald Doll feel to it, where Roxy is bullied by this gang of hooligans at her school. And through a crazy set of circumstances, they end up stranded on this island together. So everything was very improbable, but it had, like I said, it felt very Roald Dahl in good ways, because I don't always enjoy Roald Dahl's writing, but the kind of Roald Dahl that I have enjoyed felt very much like this. And it's all about them trying to survive and all of the pluck that Roxy has. And she's just unstoppable. It is so fun, and the stakes seem very high, and here's the art. Here's Roxy with her uncle Dangerfoot. Yes, it was just delightful. So highly recommend Roxy and the Hooligans, and I have already checked out the sequel because Arthur especially was very taken with this story, and when I told him there was a sequel, he is very interested in listening to that. So I am planning on doing a different read aloud before that, but then we will get to the Roxy sequel. Then the next one I read, and this was over the course of just a couple hours because it is just over 100 pages and there are many illustrations and page breaks in it. And it is a Kate Dicamillo that came out last year, and it is the Puppets of Spelhorst, the Narendi Tales. So I will say this was a mixed reading experience for me because it's very much supposed to be an allegory, kind of a fairy tale. And even though I do love fairy tales, this style of fairy tale I would enjoy much more as a short story, kind of a 10-page at most, but it's stretched out a lot longer. So the language was beautiful. It just isn't kind of the style of fairy tale retelling I like if it's going to be that long. But for beautiful language, Kate Dicamillo is such a gifted writer. Now, what I'm really excited about, though, is I like her realistic fiction. And so Ferris, that has just come out this month, and is just supposed to be full of fun. I am really looking forward to that. So I definitely enjoyed it. I just didn't quite fall in love with it like much of Kate Dicamillo's other books. Then a book that I have been trying to prioritize for a long time, and I'm glad that I finally read it, and that is The Good Master by Kate Seredy. And this really surprised me with how much I enjoyed it. It is set in Hungary over the course of a summer, and Yancey is really delighted that his cousin Kate is going to come visit. And then she comes and she is quite a handful and he is not so sure about her, but then they really get to know each other over the course of the summer. And Kate comes because of her delicate health. And of course this, that's very classic in children's literature, a child having delicate health and going to the countryside and getting really strong and sturdy. So it definitely is fulfilling those kind of formulas of older children's literature. And you really feel the passing of the seasons in this, and it ends at Christmas time. So I say over the summer, but it's longer than a summer. And what I really appreciated was how immersive of a picture it was at life in Hungary at this time. Kate Seredy was born in Hungary, and she moved away to the US when she was a teen. And so the different holidays that are celebrated, it starts out actually even before summer, it's at Easter, and getting to see how elaborately they celebrate Easter and then the very unique traditions that they have for it. And then moving forward to Christmas at the end of the book, the very unique traditions they have for that. So I love, it just felt very different than the other books that I read, and I really enjoyed that. So there is a sequel to this called The Singing Tree. The library does have it. So I think I will maybe possibly try to fit in the sequel this month as well. So yeah, just beautiful writing. If you like classic children's literature, I think this would be really fun. Kate, I just was so caught off guard by how, what do I want to say? Untethered Kate is. So it was really fun to follow her journey as a character. All right, the fun continues with the third Septus Heap, and I just have to hug it because this series just gets better and better. I cannot endorse this series enough. I have to say, there's been a couple newer children's fantasy series that I have tried, and they take themselves so seriously. It's just like they feel really stuffy. And what I love about Septus Heap are there amazing magical feats that happen occasionally, yes, but it also just feels so down to earth. And I love the historical aspect about it. There was some time travel in this one, which is so fun. I wasn't expecting that at all. And getting to see the real power that some characters have is lovely. And getting to see the journey that these characters go on and the ways that they are growing and learning to be adults as they're growing is really beautiful. Getting to see the bonds that are formed by different characters and also the unpredictable nature of the magic in this world just knocks me off my feet. I cannot endorse Septus Heap enough. So I've gone ahead and ordered the fourth book because I'm so excited. And the fourth book is called Quest. So I love the notion of that. We'll see kind of how far away from the castle they travel, and it's just full of coziness and goodness. I'm just so excited about this series. Okay, the next one was a historical fiction, and cozy middle grade historical fiction hits such a sweet spot for me. And this was Penny from Heaven by Jennifer L. Holm. So I had read 2 or 3 years ago, Our Only May Amelia, and really loved it. It's all about pioneers going to Oregon, that time period. And this one, though, is set during the Korean War, and which is an unusual historical fiction time period. I really appreciated it not being World War II. There are so many books set during World War II. And this also then addressed the polio epidemic. Penny is, her father died when she was fairly young. And so she's grown up being raised by her mother and living with her mother's parents. But her father was Italian American, and so she's very close with his family. She knows her grandparents very well, and she has a whole slew of aunts and uncles and cousins on that side of the family. So there's very much this contrast with the very waspy culture on her mother's side in the household that she grows in, the food that is not very good from how she talks about it, and then the Italian side of the family where the meals where everybody comes together, and her grandmother being offended if she doesn't want third helpings. And there's so much love in that family. So getting to see the tension where you can tell her mother didn't really feel like she felt in, like she didn't feel like she fit in that family in the time that she was married, but how Penny really loves both parts of her family and wants to have them both be a part of her life. It deals a lot with the tension kind of when a teenager is wanting more independence, but has to build up trust with their parent. I will say I did struggle with, I thought Penny was kind of a brat. And it felt a little bit like she's really enlightened about what she should do in her life, and her mother is oblivious and clueless. And that is more of a thing in modern children's literature. So that was the one hang up that I had. But now that I'm talking about it, I'm realizing how much I really enjoyed it. And honestly, I would love to just be back in that world immediately. I loved getting to witness the meals that these families had with the Italian side of the family. The meals with her mother's family did not sound that appealing. And it was just such a delight, such a beautiful, beautiful story. I will say, towards the end of this, there is a very gruesome injury, and I was not ready for it. I was not expecting it at all. It comes out of nowhere. And so it was very jarring. So you have to be ready for that. Everything ends up okay, but it is very startling. Then the next one, which I have to thank my friend Lisa, who Victober brought us together. And she it's so fun to see her exploring Victorian literature and finding all these books that she loves. But she messaged me specifically about the insignificant events in the life of a cactus and said, Kate, I think you would love this book. It's contemporary, and it is about Avon Green, who was born without arms. Not typically the kind of book that I would pick up. I thought, no, that just sounds too sad. I can't do it. But Lisa recommended it specifically, and I really trust her recommendations. And as soon as I started reading the first chapter, I fell in love with the character of Avon. She makes jokes about her lack of armage and has such an unsinkable spirit to her. And what I appreciated was this book does what I think Charlotte Mary Young does with disability. It shows the genuine challenges of it, but it also doesn't try to make that define the person. And this book, I will say it was a bit of a mixed reading experience in that I loved the character of Avon. I loved her parents. And they end up moving out to Arizona, hence the title. And I didn't really fall in love with the friends that Avon makes like I think other readers did. I liked them, but I just wanted to spend kind of the whole book with just Avon. That's how much I enjoyed her as a character. There ends up being a bit of a mystery. Avon's family moves to a Western theme park. And so that was fun, getting to see her walk around there and be familiar with it and have it as her stomping grounds. And yeah, so it was beautiful overall. And I'm very excited to try out more writing from Dusti Bowling because she has some really intriguing sounding books that I want to get to. Okay, then the last one, oh no, two more for this wrap up. The first is Bee and the Newal Horse. And this is another one that I have to hug. This is on the hug scale, okay? It's like kind of 6 stars. So this is kind of 6 stars. And this is also kind of 6 stars. I was weeping at the end of this. If you enjoyed The War That Saved My Life, The War I Finally Won, I implore you, pick up this book. Elliott's writing is absolutely stunning. It is breathtakingly beautiful. And so this is just the perfect concoction of a novel to me, where it's historical fiction. It's set during the Great Depression, right on the cusp of the New Deal being passed. And it has Bee, the main character, and her younger sister, Vivian, and then Mrs. Scott, who comes into their life. And then you have just this cast of characters, side characters also, that you come to care for so deeply, and they feel so flesh and blood. And what I love, it toes the line that middle grade does so well of having really hard things happen. There's some real baggage that Bea and Vivian have to deal with, and also Mrs. Scott and the other cast of characters. But it doesn't make it seem hopeless, but it doesn't make light of those problems. It's done so beautifully, and it has the most beautiful ending to it. It's just so beautiful. And I cannot talk this book up enough. And it was one that I thought, you know what, why don't I try a chapter and see what I think of it? And I could not stop reading after that. It just felt so natural to be reading her writing. Now, she has written a good number of novels, so I'm like, okay, she's very experienced at this. It makes me very, very excited to read more of her catalog. I loved this. I loved it. I will say there was a little bit of political commentary that felt very one-sided. So that was the one thing, once it starts to be addressed, I think, oh, is this going to just turn into a book that's kind of lecturing me on this topic? But it wasn't at all. So I thought, you know what? The title is Bea and the Newal Horse. So it's going to address that concept. And then it doesn't at all become an agenda book. It's about these characters and falling in love with them. So I very much am going to prioritize reading other books by her. And there's one that I'm particularly intrigued by, Louisa June and the Nazis in the Waves. And there were certain intercoastal activities right off the east coast of America during World War II that is not focused on that much. And I really want to know more about that. So that book addresses that. Okay, then another book that was so beautiful, and I can't believe I've gone my whole life without actually reading it, and that is Stuart Little by E.B. White. I'm so sad that E.B. White didn't write more. I did this as a read aloud with the boys, and it was so lovely to read this aloud with them. The writing in this is just pristine. I was so blown away by numerous sentences and what skill he had with a pen. Also, can I just say, I love how there's a mystery about how Stuart Little came to the Little family. And I also love that there's this consensus in the world of Stuart Little to just accept the fact that this mouse is adopted into a family, much like in The Trumpet of the Swan, how the animals are accepted as sentient. There's something very charming about that to me. I loved this. The only thing that did make me sad was that it has a kind of melancholy and ambiguous ending. I wasn't expecting that, but this was so beautiful. I just love it. So it's been so fun to finally read E.B. White's books. And then as an extra treat, the boys and we then watched the movie today actually, and we had popcorn and we had candy, and it was so much fun to do that with them. And I will say that the movie of Stuart Little is one of those instances where it's very different from the book, and I still love it because it keeps the spirit of the book alive, even if the plot is fairly different. And it's the same thing with the Paddington movies. Pretty different than the book, but the atmosphere and the ambiance feels very faithful to the story. Okay, so that has been my first just lovely, lovely week of middle grade March. And I have had a number of DNFs. And you know what? The DNFs are worth it because then I have these books that I have loved reading. I think that's all I have for now. Ideally, I would love to check in next week if I keep reading at the rate that I am, and hopefully I will. So thank you as always for watching, and I will be back with another video soon. Bye.